This is the emergency broadcasting system. 450 million people have been warned by the EU to stockpile and have enough resources to last them a minimum of 72 hours in case of crisis. With the increased threat of disease, war, natural disaster, and other emergencies, this generation is woefully unprepared to face the potential hazards of survival.
Imagine a worst case scenario. It is up to you to be able to survive with the current skills you possess. Are you able to do it? Are you hunkering down or venturing out into the wilderness and living off grid? In a stuff it hits the fan situation, preppers have already planned what to do. Depending on what type of crisis event occurs will obviously dictate how you should react. However, the prepper community is still divided on whether it is most appropriate to dig in or bug out. I'm going to show the pros and cons of bugging out for this generation, proving whether you'd be able to survive in your current state.
If you have the necessary skills, knowledge, and resources, bugging out may be for you. But what is it and how should we go about it? Assuming you have no skills or knowledge, here are the basics you will need to understand. Where you live will determine your bugging out location and route. It is extremely important to research your area and potential bugging out locations before any catastrophe hits. The population density surrounding you will help dictate to where you can go. Isolation is good and in fact recommended when you are going off grid to hide. Without going into fine detail, ideally you should aim for places outside and far away from highly populated areas such as large towns and cities. If you have a family in the countryside, that would be a good place to start. Once you have found a suitable location, pick a secondary location in case your primary ever gets compromised. Along with that, you need to consider ways to get ample and continuous water as well as ways to clean said water with no issue. A way to help keep your location undetectable would also be of benefit. Do not forget to be mindful of light discipline. The less light you use, the less attention you draw.
The issue our generation face in comparison to the ancestors is that we are simply too sentimental and emotional. In a situation where it's survive or die, you must be logical, calculated, practical, and smart about every decision you make. No cap! Survival isn't cutesy or demure.
The majority of our generation live within urban areas and cannot drive appropriate vehicles. The average life expectancy of urban refugees on foot in worst case collapse can be measured in hours, not days. So where does that leave us? Recommended ideal get out of Dodge options would be to have a heavy duty 4-wheel pickup with a crash bumper mounted on the front and a bicycle or motorbike rack in the back. Having this means you have a secondary emergency vehicle option, a larger carry capacity, and fuel economy. Realistically, in this economy, we're more likely to have a run-down, beaten-up, dirty Honda Civic with a carry capacity of a donkey. Prime advice for good options would be: do not leave too late. Do not leave on a false alarm if you're at risk of losing your job. Do not have a trailer for extra carrying capacity as it will limit your maneuverability. Have a backup vehicle in case of being boxed in, and have enough fuel for the distance from your current location to your bug out spot. Bugging out will test your logistical planning, survival skills, knowledge, and be mentally, emotionally, and extremely physically challenging. Once you have successfully escaped any urban disaster, you now need to keep yourself alive and healthy without the luxury of healthcare or a warm bed to keep you safe. The rule of 3 is very important to remember in order to prioritize your needs. 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 hours without shelter, and 3 minutes without clean air. Emergency Broadcasting System Update. The UK government posted a statement over the Easter holiday on their Stay Prepared website, advising households to stockpile on bottled water and tinned food, warning the UK citizens that emergencies are more likely to happen nationally and across the world as we see issues every day. Preparing is more relevant than ever. Now is the time to start, not later. You have chosen your bug out location and how to get there. Do you know what to take with you? Bug out bags are what will keep you going during the first stages of survival. These are your lifelines. Do not lose them. The contents of your bag can be broken down into sections. It's so easy, even a caveman can do it, like my dad. The sections you need to consider are water, food, clothing, communication, navigation, health, tools, light, heat, security, and any extras you may need. Many different groups have their own checklists, however, there is still common ground on how to pack your bob. In regards to water, you will need to consider carrying, purification, and filtration. For food, consider shelf life, energy content, ability, and equipment to cook with. Along with the shelter you have chosen, you will need to consider weight and ease of mobility. A spare change of clothing is always important to remember, and you should have items appropriate for your climate and upcoming seasons. This would take far too long to explain every tiny item you might need. I would get bored, let alone you, so instead, here is a pretty picture with the basics. Most of what you will need for long term isolation should already be at your shelter, hidden and in date. Emergency Broadcasting System Update. The government has updated and reposted their original advice on what to do during a radiation emergency, warning UK citizens to go in, stay in, and tune in.
Well done. You've made it out alive, back to your shelter, and have the necessary equipment and resources. But have you thought about your hunting ability, self-defense, and resilience?
Hard reality check. If you have a preference of veganism or vegetarianism, the likelihood of you being able to sustain your body with enough nutrients, minerals, and vitamins is low. Any dietary preferences, allergies, or addictions you may have, as well as reliance on any medications, will seriously hamper your ability to function and therefore survive. Advice from a pro prepper is always the same: get fit, get healthy, get knowledge, get skills, get good. Abstaining from hunting because of moral or ethical choices will inevitably be your downfall.
Not knowing how to bait, forage, trap, etc. will actually put you in a more dangerous position, to the point that you may as well turn around, walk back to the city and take your chances there. It's giving we have no survival skills and are screwed.
Hunting requires more than just taking a life. It is a combination of skill and practice. You will need to be able to accurately track, stalk, positively identify your target, kill, prepare, and cook, all without professional equipment. While you may not always be able to have a source of meat, you will always be surrounded by flora. Foraging is a useful skill to have. Let's play a game. Can you identify the difference between A and B? They may look the same, but fun fact, one will taste great and the other gives you the forever sleep. Knowing how to forage and prepare the food you find is important to avoid getting sick. Humans are considered as pack animals due to our social behaviours and motivations. That being said, do you have anyone dependent on you? While we were talking about dependence, do you have any pets? If so, you're no longer responsible just for one life. You're responsible for all the others around you too. What will you do when you come across strangers? Will you fight, barter, hide, or flee? If push comes to shove, are you prepared to dispatch your pets? Think, is another mouth to feed? Is another body taking up resources? Is another source of potential food? Do you have what it takes? By the time this video comes out to you, it may very well be too late. So if you are listening to this on a radio, hunkering down in the middle of nowhere, congratulations. You lived long enough to be told, don't die. But in all seriousness, the necessary skills and knowledge have been forgotten and buried with our past generations. So let's bring it back. If none of this sounds like you, or you're not willing to fight as hard as you can for your survival, maybe bugging out isn't for you. But don't worry. Your best bet is to build supplies in your own home and digging in. See you next episode on hunkering down in urban areas. Are you ready? No? We'll get started.